هودي مسيحيين تنك.
بدنا القانون، بدنا القانون، بدنا القانون.
بالاخر التنك بتكبيه.
القوات عم تتعرض لحرب كثير كبيره، اساسها الحرب بالشام بالضاحيه الجنوبيه، عون وجماعته.
Good afternoon. It is Monday, May 20th. I'm Yumna Naufal, and these are today's headlines. Rocket blasts in Sheikh Tripoli as the Lebanese army fired back on the second day of clashes in the northern city that have left at least 2 people dead. A parliamentary electoral subcommittee held its last meeting, which is most likely to lead to discussions on the extension of Parliament's mandate despite the rejection of Speaker Nabil Berri. And about 23 fighters from Hezbollah and 20 Syrian soldiers and militiamen are killed in heavy fighting with rebels in the town of Qusayd.
محاور القتال في طرف.
The death toll from the weekend clashes in the northern city of Tripoli rises to 2 as residents remain apprehensive over a repeat of fighting between supporters and opponents of Syrian President Bashar al-Assad there. Abdul Qadir Ahmad, a coffee vendor, was identified as the second fatality from the deadly clashes over the weekend that pitted the pro-Assad neighborhood of Jabal al-Muhsin against Bab al-Tabani, which supports the Syrian uprising. Much of the port city remained in a state of paralysis this morning. Schools were shut and the city's streets were nearly deserted. Ahmad Muhammad Yusuf, who is 18 years old, a resident of Jabal al-Muhsin, was identified as the first fatality from the deadly episode in Lebanon's second largest city. Security sources said Yusuf was killed after he was shot in his stomach and one of his legs. The number of wounded from the violence also rose to 26. A Lebanese army officer, a soldier, and a member of the internal security forces were among the wounded. Prime Minister-designate Tamam Salam is to wait for deliberations of the subcommittee tackling a new electoral law before taking any steps regarding the formation of his cabinet. I cannot decide on the subject of the cabinet before the parliamentary subcommittee wraps up its meetings and issues a decision either on the electoral law or extending Parliament's mandate, Salam told a Safiya newspaper. Based on the subcommittee's new decisions and developments, he added he will take the appropriate stance. He told us he still supported his formula for a government of 24 members divided equally among the March 8 and March 14 camps. President Michel Sulaiman, according to visitors to Babda Palace over the weekend, also said he regarded Salam's government formula as the optimal one, saying it achieves the required balance between political powers in the country and the presence of centrists in the government will help ease tensions. A parliamentary electoral subcommittee held its last meeting today, which is most likely to lead to discussions on the extension of Parliament's mandate despite the rejection of Speaker Nabil Berri. But the Interior Ministry resumed receiving application for candidacies. The date has been suspended until May 19th to allow the rival MPs more time to agree on an alternative to the 1960 law that was used in the 2009 elections. He hoped, however, the political parties represented in the subcommittee would postpone the submission of their applications to the Interior Ministry until after the end of Monday's meeting. Future Bloc MP Ahmed Fatfat, who is a subcommittee member, confirmed the postponement. Last week, the Future Bloc, the Lebanese Forces, MP Wali Jumblat's National Struggle Front, and March 14 Alliance's independent lawmakers proposed a hybrid draft law which calls for 46% of MPs to be elected based on proportional representation and 54% under the winner-takes-all system. At least 23 Hezbollah fighters were killed in battles in the Syrian border town of Al-Qusayd. The Syrian Observatory for Human Rights says earlier on Sunday, Al Arabiya satellite news channel reported that around 20 Hezbollah fighters and 62 others wounded in battles in Qusayd were submitted to hospitals in Beirut. The news channel said that the fighters killed in the battles included Hassan Faisal Shukur, who is the nephew of Lebanese Ba'ath Party leader Faiz Shukr. Others were identified as Muhammad Fuad Rabah, Ahmed Wa'il Ra'ad, Muhammad Qasim Abdel Satir, Badwan Qasim Al-Attar, and Hatem Hussein. Qusayd is strategically important because it is close to the Lebanese border and it links Damascus with the coast, where regime loyalists are concentrated. This includes Alawites, to which the Assad family belongs. Hezbollah leader Sayyid Hassan Nasrallah has acknowledged that members of his movement are fighting alongside Syrian troops seeking Assad's ouster. A film of a 12-year-old boy crying and cowering beside his father as a gun battle raged around them in Gaza has been challenged by an official Israeli report that suggests that the entire event may have been staged. The images, which became a symbol of the Second Intifada, contain no evidence that the child was injured or killed by Israeli fire. A committee of inquiry into television coverage of the death of Mohammed Addoura has concluded. But the committee's conclusions were rejected by France 2, the French public television channel that broadcast the report, its reporters Charles Anderlin and the boy's father, Jamal Addoura. As all said, they were ready to cooperate with an independent international investigation into the incident, and Anderlin and Addoura added they were willing to undergo polygraph tests. The committee, set up in 2012 by the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to examine the incident in the light of continued damage it has caused to Israel, concluded that Israel Defense Forces gunfire was not responsible for the death of Mohammed and injuries to his father. Coming up next, Taylor Swift celebrates after winning 8 Billboard Music Awards in Las Vegas in a ceremony which saw Justin Bieber presented with the first ever Milestone Award voted for by fans. Stay with us. At least 11 people were killed by attacks in the southern Iraqi city of Basra. 2 car bombs hit the city, a predominantly Shia southern oil hub 420 kilometers southeast of Baghdad. They struck the Hanaya border near a busy market and restaurants, and the second was detonated inside a bus terminal in Saad Square, according to police and medics. The Basra attacks happened on the same days as at least 20 people were killed by a series of car bombs in mainly Shia districts of the Iraqi capital, Baghdad. Scores of people have been killed in attacks over the past week as tensions between minority Muslims and Shias, who now lead Iraq, have reached their highest level since U.S. troops pulled out in December of 2011. More than 700 people were killed in April by a UN count, the highest figure in almost 5 years. Relations are coming under more strain by the day from the increasingly sectarian conflict in neighboring Syria. Egyptian police and army soldiers, enraged by the kidnapping of 7 of their colleagues by Islamist gunmen in the Sinai Peninsula, held a sit-in at the Rafah crossing in the Gaza Strip. Police have been blocking the Rafah crossing since Friday in a bid to pressure the Cairo government to help free the men, according to security sources. Police also blocked a commercial border crossing with Israel on Sunday. An online video that appeared online showed 7 blindfolded men who said they were the hostages, begging President Mohammed Morsi to free political detainees in Sinai for exchange of their release. Gunmen demanding the release of jailed Islamist militants seized the policemen and soldiers on the road between the Sinai towns of Al Arish and Rafah on Thursday. Tunisian police arrested some 200 members of the hardline Islamist Ansar al-Sharia in weekend clashes that erupted after a ban on their Congress, according to Prime Minister Ali Larayed. The Tunisian leader warned of firm action against Ansar al-Sharia, an organization that he said has links to and is involved in terrorism. The group is engaged in violence and is opposed to the state and revolts against the authorities, he said. Larayed said in response, "We will deal with extremism firmly, we will be rigid." One protester was killed and 15 policemen wounded in the clashes that broke out in Tunis on Sunday after the authorities banned Ansar al-Sharia from staging their annual congress. Now for news around the world in brief. A hot air balloon flying over Cappadocia, a tourist destination in central Turkey, collided with another balloon, killing 1 Brazilian tourist and injuring 24 others. Most of the injured were being treated for broken bones, but one was in critical condition. Video posted on a social media website appeared to show a hot air balloon plummeting to the ground and deflating. Suicide bomber blows himself up outside a government office in the northern Afghan province of Baghlan, killing 15 people and wounding 13 more. Police said the bomber targeted Mohammed Rasul Mohseni, the head of the provincial council office in capital Poli Khumri, who was killed immediately when the militant detonated explosives strapped to his body. Bodies of the wounded and dead were rushed to a nearby hospital. Pakistan's former military ruler Pervez Musharraf has been granted bail in the case against him for alleged involvement in the murder of former Prime Minister Benazir Bhutto. The anti-terrorism court in Islamabad issued the bail order for Musharraf, who has been detained in his farmhouse on the edge of Islamabad since April 19, are charges of conspiracy to murder 2-time Prime Minister Bhutto, who was assassinated in a gun and bomb attack in 2007. U.S. President Barack Obama delivered a commencement address at Morehouse College in Atlanta, encouraging graduates to set an example for the country and help out their communities. Obama noted the Atlanta school's mission to cultivate young men and told graduates they are graduating in a time of opportunity.
Graduating into an improving job market. You're living in a time when advances in technology and communication put the world at your fingertips. Your generation is uniquely poised for success unlike any generation of African Americans that came before it. My job as president is to advocate for policies that generate more opportunity for everybody, policies that strengthen the middle class and give more people the chance to climb their way into the middle class, policies that create more good jobs and reduce poverty and educate more children and give more families the security of health care and protect more of our children from the horrors of gun violence. That's my job. Those are matters of public policy, and it is important for all of us, black, white, and brown, to advocate for an America where everybody's got a fair shot in life, not just some.
Facebook loves to talk about its ridiculously high number of users. Yes, Facebook has a whole lot of accounts, but many of them aren't humans. eMarketer released an analysis of Facebook's audience, and it turns out more than 10% of Facebook's reported monthly users are not human. Over 100 million active Facebook users are pets, objects, or brands. At the end of March, Facebook announced that it has 1.11 billion monthly active users. eMarketer found that only 889.3 million of those users were humans. In 2012, Facebook estimated that 1.5% of Facebook accounts are undesirable or spam accounts. A lot of are just accounts for users' pets. People have been making Facebook pages for animals for years. CNN wrote about the trend back in 2010, estimating that there were at least a few thousand profile pages for dogs and cats, along with less common pets such as birds, hamsters, ferrets, turtles, fish, and rabbits. Taylor Swift was the big winner at the Billboard Music Awards, scooping 8 out of her 11 nominations, including Top Artist and Top Billboard 200 Album for Red. Justin Bieber, who performed twice, won 3 awards, including Top Male Artist, Social Artist, and the fan-voted Milestone Award, beating Swift and Bruno Mars. Madonna was also there, and she won Top Touring Artist, Dance Artist, and Dance Album for MDNA. She said, "Thank you for supporting me for 3 decades," and we have the highlights right now.
Without you, I wouldn't have a show to do, and a showgirl needs her fans. So, thank you for supporting me for 3 decades. Without you, I truly wouldn't be here.
Show us what album is taking home the Billboard Award in 3, 2, 1, go!
And the winner is Red by Taylor Swift.
Taylor Swift's Red debuted at #1 with a stunning 1.2 million.
7 Milestone Award for musical ingenuity and innovation, and it goes to, you ready?
Yes.
Justin Bieber!
Justin Bieber is the first.
It should really be about the music. It should be about the craft that I'm making. And this is not a gimmick. This is not a gimmick. I'm an artist, and I should be taken seriously. And all this other bull should not be spoken of.
beat Prince on a Monday afternoon. This marks the end of our bulletin. Here are our top stories. Rocket blast in Sheikh Tripoli as the Lebanese army fires back on the second day of clashes in a northern city that have left at least 2 people dead. A parliamentary electoral subcommittee held its last meeting, which is most likely to lead to discussions on the extension of Parliament's mandate, despite the rejection of Speaker Nabih Berri. And about 30 fighters from Hezbollah and 20 Syrian soldiers and militiamen loyal to President Assad are killed in heavy fighting with rebels in the town of Qusayr. Those are your Monday headlines live on Future Television in Beirut. I'm Yumna Naufal, wishing you a good night. I'll see you again tomorrow.
هودي مسيحيين تنك.
بدنا القانون، بدنا القانون، بدنا القانون.
بالاخر تنك بتكبيه.
القوات عم تتعرض لحرب كتير كبيرة، بأساسها حرب بالشام بالضاحية الجنوبية، عون وجماعته